Hello everyone, welcome to this video of Into the Hive Mind. Today we're going to talk about the Vanguard detachment that is new in the Tyranid Codex of 10th edition. And this is probably the detachment that I am most excited to play. It is very much my playstyle, lots of utility pieces everywhere, scoring you points, and just getting you what you need, and then they can go and die, and it's no big loss. Um, the Vanguard detachment is absolutely that kind of playstyle. So first off, let's just go with what the rules are for it, and it's basically kind of what Kraken was in previous builds, where your entire army gets fallback in charge. Um, Very powerful ability, even just to tie things up, um, but also ensure that you will never be tied up. You also essentially that gives you fight first on everything because all you do is on your turn you fall back and then you just charge right back in and you get to fight first. Um, Not quite as good as new fight first of 10th edition, but still a very powerful ability, and it applies to every Tyranid unit, which is most of these detachments do not give you that. I think actually it's this one and the index detachment. Everything else applies specifically to special keyword units. Uh, but yeah, on that note, there is also a special keyword, the Vanguard. Um, so Vanguard does apply to 13 different units that I was able to find. This is basically everything sneaky and everything that flies. So that means you've got your. See if I can. Well, we'll get fingers out so I can count this. You've got your Broodlord, you've got your Gene Stealers, you've got your Lictors, you've got your new Neuro Lictors, you've got your Von Ryan Leapers, that's all of your sneaky boys, and then everything that flies. You've got your Tyrannocyte, hilariously enough, your Hive Crone, your Hive Harpy, your Flying Hive Tyrant with wings, your Gargoyles, your Tyranid Prime with wings. Nope, that's 11. Guess we're missing some in there, but there are two more units. It is guys that fly and guys that sneak. Let me see if I can locate these really quick. All right, we're not gonna go super digging. There are two more units, but anyways, these Vanguard units they get advance in charge, which is huge. Advance in charge is always an amazing ability, and it just basically gives you that little bit extra of threat range, but it's also random threat range, which actually is even better in my mind than just like saying everyone moves an extra 3, because it is a potential for 6, which your opponents, if they're playing the right way, will be avoiding the 6-inch advance, and it just kind of forces your opponent to have to play that much more cautiously because there is a chance that you can get that far. Um, and just the mind games of this detachment are incredible. Again, very excited about this one. It is absolutely the way I love to play the game. And that's why I'm doing this one first. Is it's the detachment I've put the most thought into. Next detachment will probably be the Synaptic Nexus, as that is the other one that I believe is the most powerful, and have also put some thought into. But then throughout the rest of the week, we'll probably be looking at the more obscure ones and ways to try and make them work. But what does the Vanguard Onslaught detachment give you? So, Death Leaper is one of those. One of those two that we were missing. And Parasite Amortrex. There we go. That's your 13. Sorry about that. I finally remembered them all. Enhancements. So, again, in the new detachments, you get to swap out your 4 enhancements from the index. Basically, each detachment, it's a 1-for-1 switch. So you're still going to have your army rule of Synapse and of Shadow in the Warp. But your army rule, which again in the index was your pick to have lethal hits against monsters, vehicles, or sustained hits against infantry, or precision on your critical hits, that is changing for your detachment rule, which the Vanguard Onslaught, again, that's your fallback in charge, and your Vanguard units have advance in charge. And then you are swapping out all 4 of your enhancements. So the 4 enhancements that you get in this detachment, you have Hunting Grounds. This one's really cool. It's devastating to Genestealer Cults specifically, which is a great thing to have, but works for any army that has reserves. Anytime an opponent's unit comes in from reserve, if this model is on the battlefield, then on a 2+, that unit has to take a Battle Shock check. Again, you're just making an opponent take a Battle Shock. They're probably going to pass, but if they fail, the ramifications are huge. And you get to do this on every unit that comes in on a 2+. So basically what this means is Genestealer Cult show up, they take a Battle Shock check. If they roll a 6, because I believe they're Leadership 7, if they roll a 6 or if they fail, that demo charge unit suddenly doesn't get to use any of its strats, and they're OC 0. So if they can show up 3 away because they did that before they showed up and your ability triggered, but they can spend their CP, show up 3 away, and then take a Battle Shock check, find out, oh, never mind, I'm OC 0, I'm not actually stealing this objective from you, and I can't give my demo charges +1 to hit, and, ignore cover and +1 to wound, and all the other shenanigans that Genestealer Cult can use. Plus, Tyranids now actually get benefits against Battle Shock units for the most part. So super good enhancement. I actually don't know the points on it, sorry, but it's between 10 and 30. Either way, I think it's worth bringing. It just shuts down, or at least has the potential to shut down some really key important stuff, and your opponent's going to hate you because they can't go around it. It's just if they show up from reserve and your bearer is on the battlefield. Next one is Chameleonic. This is just the bearer gets stealth and cover. This is one way to make it where a Hive Tyrant in a unit of Tyrant Guard that is within range of a Venom Thrope actually does get cover, because the Venom Thropes will give the little guy all the infantry cover, and then the or stealth, and the bearer itself will have stealth. So that's pretty cool. Alternatively, it just goes on a single model unit, and that guy just gets stealth and cover all the time. It's great. Other enhancement is Stalker. The bearer gets to pick an enemy unit at the beginning of the game, and they get +1 to hit and wound versus that unit for the battle. It's cool. It's not bad. It's only going on a Hive Tyrant, and it's 10 points. So if you have 10 points and you have a Hive Tyrant, grab it. And then finally, this is your 30-point enhancement, which means Hunting Grounds and Chameleonic are probably 20 and 15, something like that. Because Stalker is your 10-point and Neuronoid is your 30-point. And Neuronoid is redeploy 3 Vanguard units after they're rolled to go first. So that is incredible. Take it in every list. If you're taking this detachment, you are taking Neuronoids. There's no reason not to do this. Redeploying 3 units with an infiltrating army, you will be doing this. So incredible. All right, then we get into our 6 stratagems. So these are replacing the 6 stratagems from your index detachment. Importantly, that means you are losing your 5-up Feel No Pain, which does hurt. Your stuff is not nearly as survivable now. But instead, you get these incredible board control, mind war against your opponent kind of stratagems. And you get to basically be pseudo Eldar, which is pretty fun. So first off, you have Surprise Assault for 1 CP. You pick a Vanguard unit and then an enemy unit, and your Vanguard unit gets +1 to hit against them, and the enemy takes a Battle Shock check. If they fail, you also get +1 to wound against them. Really good for making like ranged warriors hit on 3s. It's probably one of my favorite ways to do this, but +1 to hit is great on anything. And making your opponent, being able to just make your opponent take a Battle Shock check for 1 CP, incredible. Because again, they can't auto pass that. It's the auto pass strat is only in the Battle Shock step of a command phase. So if you're doing Battle Shock at any point outside of that, there's nothing they can do about it. They just have to roll and hope they pass. So incredible. 1 CP, +1 to hit, and make your opponent take a battle shock check. And even better, if they fail, you get +1 to wound. Then 1 CP, Assassin Beasts. This is the one that was previewed. Vanguard infantry unit, gain precision on melee. This is great. Situational, but great. Probably going to be irrelevant 80% of the time, but the 20% of the time that you do use it is incredible because you just get to pick up a character. Then we've got 1 CP, Seeded Broods. This one also incredible. Pick 1 Tyranid unit or 2 Vanguard units, and they get to show up from reserve 1 turn earlier. This is done at the end of your movement phase, so you cannot use this in combo with Rapid Ingress, I believe. But you can have any of your Vanguard units, so again, anything that flies, show up turn 1. You want to deep strike a flyer at turn 1 and hope you make that charge? Go for it. I don't recommend that because you have advance and charge on your flyer now, but letting you know that's an option. Honestly, the way that I see this being played best is I'm really looking at this Norn Assimilator, which is otherwise seems a little overpriced for what he does. But in this list, Norn Assimilator outflanks turn 1 for 1 CP and shoots a tank that your opponent hasn't had a chance to even try and move out of the way yet. And you have a 7-inch charge from reserve turn 1. That seems pretty good to me. We'll see how that actually goes in practice, but that's where my brain immediately went. Next up, we've got 2 CP in your opponent's movement phase. When an enemy unit moves within 9 inches of one of your units, you can spend this 2 CP, and 1 unit that was moved within 9, or 2 Vanguard units that they moved within 9 of, get to make a normal move of 6 inches. This is not D6 inches like the Termagant ability. This is flat 6-inch normal move. So that's just, if your opponent is coming at you to try and make a charge, spend 2 CP or use the free strat. It's the 2 CP, so you want to use your free strat here if you have it. Move 6 inches away. Make that charge 6 inches longer, or on a lone operative, move yourself out of lone operative range so they can't shoot you. Really good. Obviously situational as well, but being able to just have that tool in your pocket is incredible. And combines incredibly well with this next stratagem. 1 CP, Unseen Lurkers. This is probably the best strat in this detachment. You pick a Vanguard Invader unit, and they gain Lone Operative. If they already have Lone Operative, then they can't be shot outside of 6 inches. What this means is if someone deep strikes in to try and shoot Death Leaper or something, you can just spend 1 CP and say no. Alternatively, your Flyerant that is actually good in this detachment because it can advance and charge. Turn 1, advance up the board, and then your opponent tries to shoot it, and you say, no, I'm a lone operative now, shoot something else. They do get to redirect their fire elsewhere, but yeah, you can just suddenly say, no, I don't want to be shot. Incredible for 1 CP. It does only work on Vanguard organisms, so probably the Flying Hive Tyrant is your best choice here, or a already lone operative, any lictors, neurolictors, just to make it where your opponent flat can't shoot them at all. Finally, you've got Invisible Hunters. This is 1 CP at the end of your opponent's fight phase, bounce a unit back into reserve. Or 2 units if they're Vanguard organisms. Incredible on units like Gargoyles that are just there to get you secondaries, or even just, I'm planning on using it on a Lone Ripper. So the Lone Ripper deep strikes in, gets me something, and, say my opponent has some indirect fire that killed my Biovore. Next turn, I have a Ripper come in and get me my lone objective. The turn after that, I've got 2 Rippers that come in. Their indirect only kills one of them, and I bounce the other one back, and turn 4, it comes in and still continues to do actions. But yeah, so this is, you use it at the end of your opponent's fight phase. There is a caveat that you have to be outside of 3 inches of the opponent, so you can't be engaged, and you can't be within 3 inches of an opponent if you want to disappear. But yeah, 1 Tyranid infantry or 2 regulars, popping them into reserve. And importantly, it doesn't say you have to come in the next turn, I believe. So I think you can just pop a unit in and wait until you need them. Amazing with Rippers, amazing with Gargoyles, or anything else. If your opponent is just playing in such a way that they really need to, that they're hardcore avoiding a unit. Like if you want to play 6 Zoanthropes and your opponent just sat there and deployed on the opposite end of the map, well outside of your 24-inch range, put those Zoanthropes back in reserve. Then next turn, let's say turn 1, put them in reserve. Turn 2, bring them in as if it's turn 3 and show up on their deployment edge and shoot them. Seems pretty good. This entire detachment's incredible. It's just, you get to be all over the map. You get to control the tempo of the game. You get to just so many tricks that your opponent is just going to be like so lost as to all the abilities that you can do. This is not a detachment for damage. There's nothing in here that improves damage aside from the strat of if they fail a battle shock check. This is a score points, confuse your opponent, be everywhere at once detachment, which again I love it. It's my favorite way to play the game. So on that note, I did end up creating a list. Each one of these little videos about the detachment is going to include a list that I came up with that I think could work well in that detachment. So here we go. We've got, I am currently using the points that were in the back of the codex. Those points are probably going to change in a week, so you might need to tailor this a little bit. But on that note, we've got our Vanguard detachment being led by the Flying Hive Tyrant for 185 points. This guy is just here to, he's here to get the free strat on himself. The idea, in my mind, is if your opponent ever gets close to him, he uses the free strat on himself to normal move 6 inches away, get outside of 12, and then spend a CP to say, now you can't shoot me because I'm outside of 12. So the idea is this Flying Hive Tyrant can basically hit a flank, kill some stuff, and as soon as your opponent tries to retaliate, you just say no. Either by using the free strat for can't shoot outside of 12, or use the free strat to move outside of 12 and then spend a CP and say, now you can't shoot me. Phenomenal. Then we've got 2 winged Tyranid Primes, one with the Neuronoid enhancement and one with the Hunting Grounds enhancement, because you're not really taking these enhancements for extra damage. The winged primes are now cheap at 65 points, and I think that does make them worth it because they have the Vanguard infantry keyword, and when they join a unit of warriors, they give it to the warriors. So now your warriors can advance and charge and are suddenly much more reasonable units to have in this game. And yeah, your Neuronoid is your redeploy 3 units, which is going to be our next choice. We have 3 units of 6 Bonryan Leapers for 420 points. But these guys are just going to say, hey, I went first, I redeployed 3 units of infiltrators right here in your face, and now they're advancing and charging and punching you. Incredible combo with the redeploy with infiltrate. Your opponent just gets to be bogged down turn 1, stuck in their deployment zone, and there's not much they can do about it. It's going to take them probably over a turn to kill 18 Von Ryans. Even if you're not doing damage, you are stopping them from doing their game plan, and that's well worth a quarter of your army, in my opinion. Then we have 3 individual Neurolictors for 180 points. These guys are incredible, lone operative already, so in my mind, you literally just park them on a center objective behind a wall and tell your opponent to stay away, and if they decide to just try and out-OC you, then in your command phase, you say, okay, make a battle shock check, hope you pass. And if they fail, then you just stole that objective back from them with a single model that was just sitting there anyways. Alternatively, they're great. Lone operatives are fantastic for just running around and doing your action secondaries if for some reason your Biowars and your Rippers cannot. And yeah, the battle shock ability that Neurolictors have in the command phase is great. The +1 to wound even better. And these guys have 4-up invulns. So if your opponent charges them, there's a very real chance that you're just like, yeah, but I lived. And now I'm going to fall back and charge something else that, that you don't want me to charge. Because that's my army ability. We also have Death Leaper in here for 75 points. That aura of -1 leadership is great. Death Leaper is also still great. He still has his 4-up invuln as far as I'm aware. So does the same thing the Neurolictors do, except he can actually do damage. And he's a great support piece with those Neurolictors to help you make those Battle Shock checks. Then we have 2 units of 6 ranged warriors. I like the ranged warriors better than the melee ones just on principle, especially with their fallback shoot and charge ability. That being said, they are a little redundant in this detachment. Being able to advance and charge makes melee warriors very much worth considering, even though for some reason they're like 55 points more than a ranged warrior unit and they don't have guns. So I might change this, but currently with points, they're the ranged warriors. It's a little awkward because they don't get to combine the advance and charge with the advance and shoot because I don't have a regular Hive Tyrant in this detachment. So maybe we try and find points to swap those to melee warriors. But for now, ranged warriors because they're cheap. The Winged Prime joins them, gives them sustained hits, and you just get to consistently chip. And if an opponent gets too close with like a deep striking action unit, they can advance and charge and just eat that unit. Then we've got our single Biobor. Still have 1 in every list. They just spawn Spore Mines and do secondaries. It's great. Then we have 3 individual Rippers. This goes in basically every list. I think you put 2, because then you have a turn 2 Deep Strike, a turn 3 Deep Strike, do an action with a single base that's very hard to screen out. In this list, I have 3, because of the reason I was saying before. You can bounce them back into reserve and just hold on to them until you need them, well past turn 3. So having 3 of them to survive and basically just do your secondaries wherever you end up needing. They're phenomenal for that, and it's 45 points for 3 deep striking units. Incredible. And then finally, we're going to try out the new big boys. We've got the Norn Emissary for 285 points. This guy, he's got one job. Pick the center objective as his priority target thing, walk onto it, and hold it for as long as possible with his OC 15 and 5-up Feel No Pain. The issue with this detachment is, again, you don't have killing power, you don't have durability. Your whole way of playing the mission is saying, don't punch me, I'm running away from you, I'm not actually here anymore. You're not engaging in a straight up fight. And the issue with that is if your opponent just says, okay, I'll just stand on the objectives and force you to come at me, then I think we lose that fight. So the Norn Emissary is in here to at least give us a unit that can compete with that. So yeah, he just walks forward, OC 15. He doesn't even have to kill stuff. He probably will kill some things. But 285 points of very difficult to shift, sit on that center objective and hold it, get as many primary as possible, because this list is insane at secondary. We need something for primary. And then finally, we're going to try the other new boy as well. As I said, we're going to take a Norn Assimilator, use that stratagem. We're going to throw him an outflank, and turn 1, show up right on the board, hopefully make a 7-inch charge out of reserve, assuming there is a monster or vehicle we can do. Even if not, if there's not a monster or vehicle on the board that you can shoot, then there's probably not a monster or vehicle that is killing this thing, and next turn you can just move your 10 and kill something. But yeah, a turn 1 outflanking Assimilator, putting tons of pressure on your opponent immediately, is, I think, really, really good. So that's the list. Again, just recap: Flying Hive Tyrant and 2 primes as your characters. The 2 primes are adjoined to 2 6-man ranged warrior squads. And then you've got 3 Neurolictors plus Death Leaper that are all infiltrating and just hanging out. And if your opponent goes first and you really don't want them there, pick those up and put them in, well, at least put Death Leaper in reserve and just get them out of the way. And then you deploy the Von Ryans probably in your deployment zone, and then use your redeploy to put them just right in your opponent's face if you do end up going first. Yeah, and then you've got your Biovore for secondaries, your Rippers for secondaries, an Emissary to go get primary in the center, and an Assimilator just to force massive pressure right off the bat in addition to those Von Ryans. Um, what I think is an incredibly strong list. I'll have to do some play tests. Difficult to do for me with multiple kiddos these days and school just starting, but I'll let you guys know as soon as I'm able to actually play some games. I will be at Charity Hammer in 2 weeks. Very excited for that. Certainly will be playing this list and pretty much every other detachment there as well against top Tyranid players like Alex McDougall, John Lennon, Tyler Bortel. It's going to be awesome. Very excited to play that. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this detachment, and I'll see you guys in the next detachment video of the Synaptic Nexus. Thanks.